This slideshow will discuss the important skill of active reading. If you're going to have an effective research paper, it's going to be based on secondary sources. And you need to be able to paraphrase and summarize those sources in ways that are accurate to what the author of those sources is trying to communicate. And that requires that you read actively. So what exactly is active reading? Well, it's paying attention to yourself as a reader. What kind of reader are you? And so as you read, can you watch yourself reading and try to figure out what your weaknesses are? And then can you work on those weaknesses? And of course, what are your strengths? And how can you make those strengths even better? So paying attention to your thoughts as you read is important. And one of the questions you want to ask yourself is, did I get what I just read? Did I understand it? And do I see how that piece relates to other pieces in the article? Am I starting to see and analyze the entire article as a whole? One way of helping you do that and become a better and more skilled reader is by annotating. And that means reading with a pen or a pencil in your hand and taking notes. Now there's two different kinds of notes that we're going to practice this semester. One is the subjective annotations, in which you will write down on the article or someplace in the column of the article, you record your thoughts, things that come into your mind as you read, such as, I don't understand that word, or I disagree with what this author is saying, or this reading reminds me of something else. This is what you're bringing into the reading. You're adding this into what the author is telling you. The objective annotations are notes that you take in which you pay attention to what the author's ideas are, and you put those ideas into your own words in brief annotations, and we'll show you how that's done in a minute. So, what are the steps to active reading? Well, one of the first things you want to do when you come across an article that looks like it is going to be useful for your research work is to pre-read it. And there's a number of pre-reading steps that you can take. You can actually look at the entire article at once, look at the entire source at once, kind of skim through it very quickly. Don't take a long time, and do not spend time reading specific information. Get a sense of how long it is, how it's organized, is it broken up into sections, what are those sections, how many pages does it have, how long is it going to take you to read this. So you want to get a feel for the entire piece at first. So you're going to skim and see if there's anything in the article that you recognize. Do you see any words that look familiar? Do you see any names of people that you might recognize? And so you're getting warmed up to the article. You might also skim and look around for words that seem confusing and start guessing and thinking about what those words may mean. A lot of times you can figure out those words in context based on how it's used in the reading. Look at the headings and the subheadings in the reading. What do they tell you about what this secondary source is about? Of course, examine the pictures and the captions under the pictures. Those will give you clues as to what you're going to be reading. And then finally start making guesses about what you'll be reading. What do you think this is going to be about? Where do you think it's going to go? How do you think it's organized? And then when you read the piece, you're actually checking to see if those guesses were correct. Then once you've done the pre-reading, then you go back and read more deliberately, more slowly. And here's where you're going to take your notes, your annotated notes as you read, both the subjective and the objective annotations. You could highlight also. A lot of people like to highlight, but I suggest you highlight sparingly. Do not do a lot of highlights. You want to highlight only those most important ideas and not highlight everything. And then, of course, if you're working to write a research paper, then you're going to have to reread the source. And you may have to reread the source 2, 3, sometimes more times in order to make sure that you really own the material. This is what all expert readers do, and you should do it too. Okay, so here is a reading It comes from a Wikipedia article on deep ecology. It's not a simple reading. And what I'd like you to do is take a look at it, read through it, and you may not understand all of it, but then I'd like to demonstrate to you how you can annotate such an article using subjective and objective annotation. So at this point, you might want to pause the video, read this little selection on deep ecology, and when you're done, you can then start the video again, and we'll go to the next screen, which will explain how to annotate this article using subjective and objective annotations. So now you've read the selection. The selection is right here in the middle. This is the format we're going to be using for annotating our articles for the objective synthesis paper. Over here are subjective annotations. Notice these are questions the reader is asking herself about what she just read. So it says deep questions, deeper than what else? So there must be some confusion there. This is an idea that came up in the reader's mind as she was reading. Anthropocentric environmentalism. Is this defined right after it? Yes, I think it is. See, it's underlined. And so she went ahead and underlined what she thought was the definition of anthropocentric environmentalism. This, of course, is a discussion or thoughts that are going on in the reader's mind. Over here are the objective annotations, and these are very important, and here's where I'll want you to do most of your work. And here's where you break up the original, here's the original, and break it up into its smaller ideas. Notice that these ideas are little snippets, and they're not summaries. So according to this reader, this piece here defines deep ecology, and then part of that definition is that humans equal the rest of the environment. And deep ecology asks complex questions. For instance, how are humans one part of the entire environment? Where is their place in it? And then the final idea is that deep ecology is not human-centered, it's more holistic. It looks at all the parts as being important. So these are the 4 important ideas that came out of this piece, and here's the objective annotations. This is what the author was saying according to the reader.